wanted to know what inspired you to become a writer.
I was told that I couldn't by some people of a different cultural persuasion, I'll just put it that way, that I was involved in a theater collective with. And they were putting on a festival of new work that would be generated within the company. So different members of the company could contribute to the new writing festival. So I said, I want to do that. I have something to contribute. And they said, great, you can sing a song or something. And I said, well, I could do that. But I could also contribute some writing like everybody else in the company is doing. Every other member of the ensemble was being asked to write something. And yet they said I could sort of be the halftime break and sing a song. So I said, no. I have something I've already written. Oh, you do? Which I didn't. So I kind of pushed myself off the cliff into writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you grow up an avid reader?
Yes, my mother was a English teacher and humanities professor. Oh. So she still gets on me when I don't use the proper spelling in my text. When how we use shorthand in texting.
Yes.
It's because she knows I know how to spell things, but you just do the shorthand.
That's not good enough.
In emails, she's like, "Why aren't you capitalizing? And what's going on with you?"
Wow.
I'm like, "Oh, I'm just going fast. This electronic message." No. So very literary household.
Okay. Yeah. Who was your favorite author growing up? Like who inspired you? Like I know I have a favorite author that I'm always just inspired by.
There are so many, but I will say that the trilogy of Temple of My Familiar, Color Purple, and Possessing the Secret of Joy by Alice Walker. A lot of people think that Color Purple stands on its own, but it's one of a trilogy.
Yeah.
And I went through it, and I got through all three of them in less than 2 weeks.
Really?
When you understand the scope of what she did. So, I also love Toni Morrison. I love all of James Baldwin stuff, but I was taken by having that large of a vision. Someone can imagine a world that large. Now, if some of it may be some experience she had, certainly, or maybe it all did spring from her mind. But I'm not as taken with things like Lord of the Rings as I am with something that is clearly so personal. And to have the courage to...
Is it because you felt like you could relate to a character?
I was relating to what I sensed was the bravery there of the writer.
Okay.
To just have the courage to say the things she was saying. And she does it with great wit and style, of course. But, when the writer has the courage to lay some knowledge on people that he or she knows a group of people may not be ready for or may be resistant to, but they're going to tell it anyway. They got me.
Okay.
Yeah.
They got you hooked.
They got me hooked.
All right. Mm-hmm. What are 3 adjectives that would describe you?
Determined. Persistent. And humble.
What makes...
Which is different from modesty.
Yes.
I'm going to clarify.
Okay. Explain, please.
I'm a humble person, but I don't trust people who are falsely modest. If I ask you, are you good at something, and you say, oh, no, I'm kind of good. I don't believe that. I don't trust it. Or I'll take you at your word and say, oh, you don't know if you're good at something? Then I don't really want to do any projects with you. So modesty is one thing. I'm not going to be modest. I'm going to tell you, I'm good at that. I can do that. What do you need done? I'll take care of it. But I'm humble as far as I know that the gift came from somewhere else. I can hone that gift, and I can utilize God's, the gifts that you've been given. So I'm humble about what I'm capable of, but I'm not shy about telling you that I can do it.
That makes sense. very good.
You know.
Good knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody who you have like a protege that you would want to, you know, a lot of career changes are taking place, and people are tapping into their passion more.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody you would take under your wing?
It's so funny. I don't know if this even, you know, I'm not certain who will read this or who would care, but there's a young man who works here at the theater who I've been seeing as I would come in and out of rehearsals. And he works in the concession area, and he'd be seen every time I walk by. He kind of try to make eye contact, but try to avoid. And one day he got the courage to stop me and say, "I just want to tell you that I saw your play, and it means a lot to me." And I could see what was going on, how he had connected to the play. Mm-hmm. I said, "How old are you?" 19. And they have to let me off work at a certain time so I can make it out to Bellwood every night. And I'm thinking, ooh, this is a young man clearly dealing with his sexuality, living out there. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. But you've got a job in the city and you standing up straight, and you're going to do something with yourself. So I didn't even let him get into, oh, I'm a big fan and I thought this was that. I said, no, what are you doing? You going to school? What are you doing? And he just... So a specific protege, I'm not sure, but any young person that I see who looks a little, not lost, but wavering, but just needs, sometimes you just need an older person to say, you good, you steady, keep going.
Right.
There's a lot of things pulling at young people these days, and it's real easy to get yanked off your center. So any young person that wants to do better, I'm there to help them do better.
All right, I like that.
Yeah.
What would you say to, often I think, and maybe many people get into a point where they feel, you know, I just can't do this. I can't live out my dream. Obviously, you're living out your passion. So what would you say to that person who may not be able to make the connection or have anyone or know where to go? Like I was once told, just Google that information.
Right.
You know, and that obviously was the obvious answer to do, but what do you do beyond that? Was there a point in your life where you needed to go beyond?
Yes, and you don't... I would say what I would say to a young person or any person who said, I can't do it, even though I have the information, it's hard to, as you say,
and they may have the gift.
Right, but it's sometimes hard to, as I think you're indicating, to you know, take the lemons and make the lemonade. You know, sometimes they can't figure out
you don't know how to
space
cut the lemon.
between.
Right.
You can't cut it, and how much sugar, what, you can't figure it out. I would say something that might seem cruel at first, but I would say the first thing you have to realize is that you are alone. You come into this world alone, and you will die alone. Now, that is not a negative thing. Coming into this world is an accomplishment. You chose to be here. And if I had to break down the biology and say how many of the little fishies that were swimming, you were the one that won. Out of millions, you won. So you're already a winner because you're here. And guess what? The human common experience that we all will have is death. Whether you die quick or whether you die slow, we will face that moment. And how you do it is up to you. But we all have to do it. So there's a lot of commonality in the human experience. There are people who have talents, and there are people who have endurance. There are people who, you know, can crack jokes. Everyone can do something.
Right.
So I'd say if you're really struggling, maybe look at your choice. Maybe you're not doing the thing you should be doing. Like maybe you have to sit down and have some patience and really think about if it's that hard, you might maybe want to do something else. Maybe it's that hard for a reason. Maybe that's not the way you're supposed to go.
Okay.
You know, and when you're that young, that's something you can maybe convince, you know, they're still young enough to say, yeah, I can do something else. And,
yeah, it's not too late.
It's not too late, yeah.
Okay, I wanted to get your honest opinion about fine arts in the school. I'm a former teacher, and I always employed fine arts, music. If it was just clapping to the beat of, following my clap. And I had a principal tell me, this is school. How dare you have the students doing that? I mean, we was having a good time with Langston Hughes' poem. Oh, I thought I was doing it. So, and the kids were enjoying it, the boys, because it's hard to get boys into, acting. And, it was the best experience for myself and the students. And she walked in and said, no, we're here to learn. So, what are your thoughts when
my thoughts on
theater is taken out, fine arts is taken out of the schools, and you have teachers trying to employ that to the best of their ability in the classrooms?
Well, I say to Arne Duncan, the Secretary of Education, I say to every administrator who makes decisions like that about art, I say very clearly, without equivocation, that it is essential that we have fine arts in our schools from the youngest grade we can get it in, because when we are babies, before we can talk, we sing. Before we can write, we draw. It's the day we can walk, we dance. So it is core of the human. It's what humans do.
Right.
We sing, we draw, it's what we do until we are stopped. It's how we learn. We see mommy and daddy, and as soon as we can imitate it, we do it. It's natural. You see hieroglyphics in caves. That's what we do. That's how we learn. So when you take away the way that we learn, in particular people of our complexion,
right?
That's the way we learn things. We repeat, we imitate, we click, we dance, we sing, we tell that story around the fire. Everybody responds. You take that away, and that's why you got kids, with their lights shut off, because that's how we do. And it's intimidating to a lot of people when they see us in our element, so they try to shut it down. So it's incumbent upon us to make sure we keep dancing and singing and drawing and writing. It's essential. It's not even a question. It should be the first thing in the curriculum, because your math scores go up better when you're in dance class.
Right.
And your body and your counting and your balance and your discipline. Your English scores go up when art is encouraged to draw, and then look at these other artists, and I can put that color with that color and create that shade. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Higher order thinking skills taking place. Absolutely.
It's taken away for a reason. Don't doubt that.
Trust me, I know. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely know. Definitely.
Yeah. It's very sad. We have some people who are convinced that my play is, so easy. It's just so funny. It's so light. It's so easy. They just up there, It's a hard play to do, which the actors are finding out. I think some of the actors even thought, it's funny. It's complex. They're starting to see what the map I've made. I'm not being modest right now.
That's okay.
I think that we don't do anything half once we decide to do it anyway.
Right.
You can't come half with this.
Right.
We don't do half. So it is very well thought through. Now that we've started performances, and it's understandable, I'm not upset or anything, but now that we started performances, a lot of people who didn't believe that I could write the end are now telling me how to make it better, and I wish you would do this, or this should change, or if you really want to. What do you mean if I really want to do it? I did it already.
Right. It's done.
And now you're deciding to believe in me, but see, I understand that that's false, so I can just smile and say, thank you, and move on. But there's no anger, glad you're on board now. Now watch what else I can do. So, it's understandable that people tend to reduce, they want to reduce all manner of our accomplishments. And we know that. But the bigger question is, what will we do about it? Well, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
What do you feel about, I know some people who love theater. Mm-hmm. They attend plays. My mom, definitely that's how I got my love for going to live performances. I was going at the age of 5. But then I, will meet different people along the way, and they've never been to the theater, never been to a play, and it's almost a shock, and it's people of color. What do you think would help inspire them to get them out, or to do, to me, which is so normal?
Right. Well, I say kind of what's happening with this. We have to get the word out and get them to the show. Who was just Rhymefest?
Oh.
He won the Grammy in 2007, I think. Mm-hmm. He came to the show because he ran into one of our actors, and our PR person, Jada, was at the what concert was just recently here?
I know Drake was just here.
I forgot who it was. Anyway, they were at a concert, and Rhymefest, Jada said, "Oh, you have to come see this play." He said, "Okay." He brought his assistant, who was this young man who was recently incarcerated, but he's trying to mentor this young man. So he said, "We're gonna come see a play." This young man seemed like he had actually seen magic before his eyes. He was transformed. And I sat there going, wow, I guess all we have to really do is get him into the theater. Mm-hmm. So how do we do that, I think, is your question.
Right.
How do we... But it's happening with this show. I see the mixture of the crowds already is insane. Right. Mm-hmm. We have to spread the word, and we have to say, get up and go.
Right.
There's no easy way. I know. It's the legwork. It's the legwork. Go to the churches. Tell everybody. Support. We have to support each other. So that's the way to do it.
If you could leave.
Let me interject. I got one quick question. I know we got time.
She's just hanging.
Okay. I don't know if you're going to ask this, but look.
Go ahead.
Okay.
The 2 most iconic women in America, Black America, whatever.
2 of the 3, because Oprah's the other one.
2 of the 3.
I know where you're going.
Right. You're right. You directed. Yeah. Phylicia Rashad is directing this.
Yeah.
You're moonlighting with Michelle Obama, the first lady. Yeah. I mean,
I know.
How did you get here?
I keep asking that same question. But I don't spend much time asking it because you live in grace, and grace likes to be treated gently. So I don't jump up and down about it, because you could shatter the reality of it.
That's right. And
I don't beat my head against the wall wondering when is it going to be over. I just stay in it. And, it's funny. My interaction with Mrs. Obama is much less, obviously, than it has been with Phylicia. But Phylicia says things like, "Oh, me and you, we're like Siamese twins." And I take it in stride, and then it's only when I get home I go, did that happen today? Is this happening? But there's no time for that. If not me, it'd be somebody else.
Right.
So why not me?
What keeps you motivated?
Knowing how lucky I am to be alive. When I was 21, I was in a very serious accident. I was shot in both my legs, and I was left for dead. And I, in fact, did die because no one was there to call an ambulance. It turns out some neighbors heard the shots and called. And, they found me, and I went through a period of 6 months in a wheelchair in recovery. And I just thought, man, I was 21 years old. I had my whole life in front of me. I had just graduated with honors from DePaul University and won a leading role in a play and had started rehearsal. And 6 days into it, boom. So every day that I was able to walk was a good day. And 20 years later, that's still fresh. It's very fresh. Do you know what I'm saying? My mother and I, on July 8th was when it would happen. And on July 8th, we celebrate my other birthday every year. So I have all the inspiration I need.
Off of that alone, exactly.
To stay focused and to stay like, I see people who take everything for granted and complain.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing in my life. There's no room for complaining. I'm like, really? Somebody's late or somebody doesn't want. We talk about this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We had a big event last night. It was a little crazy, and it's like, well, ultimately this is a huge blessing. Now, Phylicia, understandably, was like literally tired. She's this is her week to be overrun because once you're directing, she's got to come for pre-production meetings, then rehearsal, post-production, performance, tech meeting after that. And as the writer, they don't even invite me to some of that stuff. They're like, we actually want you to. We have to do the production now.
Okay.
We'll ask you little things like, can you change that line? But this week is crazy for her.
Right.
So to do extra stuff is. Does she complain?
She should have. Anyone else would have.
But she's grace, but I learn from her. And,
right.
I feel lucky to be here. So.
I think your next subject is
you guys have a busy
definitely a pleasure
Likewise.
meeting you.
Did you get good enough photos?
Yeah, can I get one more?
Sure.
Kind of like, maybe pose and maybe by the red.
Skip by the red.
The red
Kurt,
part.
just go from the